Hey y'all, welcome to my living room, and it is time for another live Q&A. And this is really something that has come about because of the patrons on Patreon, which I want to say absolutely a huge thank you. This was a goal that you guys brought about, and it's one thing I've been wanting to do for a while, and you've kind of given me the shove to do it. So thank you for that. I am looking forward to doing this more often. I should be doing one of these about once a month. So let me dive into this. And myself. Cool. So if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the comments. And as soon as I can pull those up, we will be answering them. And I am looking at what I'm doing. There we go. So I think I'm actually live now, which I hope I'm live. I'm not 100% sure. If I am live, let me know in the comments. But yeah, you know how these things go. But yeah, this is a fun Q&A idea. And I've seen a few other channels do it and figured it would be time to do it myself. So let's see if we can see if anyone's in here. This is actually live, brought about by the patrons on Patreon, and so this is a goal that was recently reached. And yeah, you kind of given me the push and the shove to go over and finally put one of these through. So thank you for that. Questions. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments on the side. While I'm waiting, I have a couple that were sent earlier, and one of them was from Frank Ingram. Sorry if I was a bit quiet. Let me see if that's any better. Move my microphone actually in here. Frank Ingram asked, what angle should I sharpen my bench chisels to? And that is an interesting question. It is, well, you can sharpen whatever angle you want. I mean, if you sharpen them to an 80-degree angle, the edge will last for a very long time, but it will be a pain to push through the wood because it's such a high angle. Whereas if you sharpen them at like a 10-degree angle, they will push through the wood like absolute butter, but you'll be sharpening them every other cut. And you kind of got to play that balance with where do you want them. Most people put that angle somewhere around 25 to 30-degree angle. And if you put it at like 25, it's going to be a little easier to push through the cut. Whereas if you put it at like 30, it's going to be a little harder to push through the cut. But 30, the blade is going to last a little longer. So that's kind of the give and take. And let me actually see this because I think I entered something wrong here for live streaming. But I may not. Community. Open in a new window. Hey, oh, cool. There's the chat. Let's see. We have Crazy Timber and Alexedre. I'm sorry. I'm going to butcher names. I'm not even going to try these. So, so thank you for that. Yeah. Wow. A lot more people here than I thought. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Hey, Rob, how's it going? Yeah. So chisel angles. It's really kind of something that you got to develop a personal preference for what you want. I personally put mine at 25 degrees because I have no problem with sharpening them more often, and I prefer them to work a little bit easier. But I don't have a problem using a 30-degree angle either, because there really isn't a huge difference. Sometimes I might do it at like 35 degrees if I'm cutting mortises, because I want that edge to last a little longer, but it all depends on how long do you want it to last as opposed to how easy do you want to push through the wood. So 25 to 30 degrees, you'll find something that works for you there. Donnie Carter asks, I'm getting chips caught up between the blade and the body while using it. There are several reasons for that. Number one, probably the most common, is that there is a gap between the chip breaker and the iron. Actually, let me grab one and show you. If you have the chip breaker on one side and the iron on the other, and if there is a gap in between the two where they connect, chips will get stuck in there and compact, and then that will stop you from cutting, and it will load the mouth up with chips. And what you can do is, if you look through the hole, let me see if I can do this so you can actually see it. If you look through the hole, right now you don't see any light coming through between the blade and the chip breaker. If you see any light there at all, it means your chip breaker isn't flat, and you may actually want to flatten out the edge where it touches the iron, and that way you have a perfect seal between the iron and the chip breaker. The other thing that comes up very often is that the mouth is too small if you're doing large cuts. I have a problem with this currently on my number 5 that I use it for taking fairly heavy cuts, not like I do with the scrub plane, but for taking 4 or 5 thousandths or as much as a 1/16 of an inch cut. And I need to open that mouth up a little bit. I can do that by moving the frog back a little farther, or actually taking a file and opening up the mouth. Usually you want to move the frog back as far as you can first. But if you're getting chips caught, it's usually one of those 2 reasons. So go check them out, and that might help you out. What mic am I using? From Rob Evans. This is a Yeti Blue. I really like it. It gives a fairly clean sound, and it's easy. You don't have to have a soundboard to run it through. It's a good microphone for most things. You can just plug it in with USB and go. Canada, Dutch woodworking, Netherlands. Boy, all over the place. That's one of the things I love about this community. You guys are just, it's less than 50% of my audience are in the United States, which I love having so much international love. It's very cool. Next question. Rob's Workshop asked a while ago, what are your goals for 2017? This year, I really want to, well, number one, I want to finish the dresser. But, need to get that done. My wife wants a dresser. I also want to build at least 1, if not 2 different lathes. I would like to spend more time on that. I would like to make a large flywheel that I could connect a lathe to, or a scroll saw, or some other item. I want to even make a router table that I can put on it. So those are some ideas that I have coming up. For the channel-wise, really, I don't like setting goals for how many subscribers or things like that, because it's not something I can control particularly. My goal is to have almost 400 videos up by the end of 2017. I would like to have, my goal is 380 videos by the end of 2017. It'll be tight, but I think I can do it as long as I keep on the 3 to 4 video a week schedule. So it should be kind of fun. Other plans, I'm hoping to have a new shop. Hopefully later this summer we're going to be moving and getting a new shop, and I would love to buy a piece of property where I can cut down the trees and actually build a timber frame shop on the property. I think that would make a fantastic series of videos. Another thing is I am planning on buying a few power tools, table saw, planer, joiner, so that I can do more large projects. So I'll still show the hand tool method of it in the video, but like with the dresser, I have to do a ton of planing that I can't video, and so I'm spending an entire week of working on wood, which I have no problem to. I really love doing that. It is fun, but it's not creating any video content, so it's not helping you guys out. Whereas if I can do the first few boards by hand, show you how to do it, and then run them through a planer, then I can actually produce more content. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. It's 6 p.m. in the Netherlands. Woohoo! So thanks, Rob, for asking that. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments down here. I think I'm just about out on my list. Let me see if I have anything more over here. Oh, here's the famous common question. What is your favorite tool in the shop? And honestly, my favorite tool is the tool that is in my hand at the time. And if you watch my videos, I'm constantly saying, oh, I love this part and I love this tool and I love working with that. And that's really because I love hand tool woodworking. It's the process that is so enjoyable, and I really enjoy that. And so it's whatever tool I have in my hand. And if the tool isn't performing the way I want to, I love the chance to tweak it and make it work. And once it's actually performing the way I want it to, then that's the tool I really enjoy, because that's the one I'm looking forward to. Morning from Portugal, UK. Sorry if my voice is a little odd. I am just getting over a cold, as apparently a lot of people are this time of year. Typical for Christmas. YouTube will not, well, Nathan Elliott asked, typical that YouTube guys get, is that now your full-time job? No, this is not a full-time job. I'm not even making enough to cover the what I'm doing and the supplies I'm putting out. And so this is a hobby for me that is making money. Do I want it to become a full-time job? Yes, I would love to make this sustainable, mostly so that I can prove to my wife that it is worthwhile. But I would love to be able to put out more content and more capability. And one of my goals is I don't want to hide behind a paywall, because most people, once they go full-time, they put out free videos on YouTube, and then all of the good videos are behind a paywall on their website. And I don't have a problem with that. It's just not the plan I want to make. I want to make everything that I have, it's free and open to the public. And if I can find a way of making a full-time income from doing that, fantastic, then I can do more of it. So yes, I would like to eventually, but no, this is not my full-time income. And by the end of this year, it probably still will not be a full-time income. I might actually make a little bit more than I spend, but who knows. I was thinking of doing a lathe about a year ago. Richard Ryder. Yeah, I actually want to make both a treadle lathe and a spring pull lathe. I don't know which I'm going to make first. I'll probably end up making the spring pull lathe first, because once I have the body set up for it, I can just easily put a spring and a rope on it and use it. But I don't know. I may end up making the flywheel first. We'll see. From Illinois, Aurora. Thank you, Daryl. Yeah, not too far from me. I'm up in Rockford, so should swing by sometime. I'm thinking about doing a hangout sometime, actually, meeting somewhere. So if anyone in the area wants to. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Nova Scotia. Wow, ways out there. Tails or pins first? Donnie Carter asks. I've done both, and I really don't see a huge reason to do one or the other. If I'm going to be gang cutting, I'm going to be doing tails first, because you can gang cut all your tails at once. Whereas if you do all your pins first, you can't gang cut all your pins. So for like with the dresser, I'm going to be doing all the tails first, because I can gang cut an entire drawer's worth of tails at one time, and booyah. I haven't found a speed for one way or the other. I probably do tails first more often, because it just gets me used to doing it for gang cutting. But I guess it's whatever you're comfortable with. There isn't really a solid answer to that. Any tips on cleaning shellac from natural brushes? Alcohol. Yeah, it is the solvent in shellac, and it will resolvent the shellac. So denatured alcohol. And if you're making shellac, you can use denatured alcohol and the shellac chips and mix them up, and that's how you make shellac. If you have a brush that's completely soaked, usually what I do is I have a shellac brush and it's completely soaked with dried shellac. I'll let it sit in the alcohol for an hour or two, and swish it around occasionally and let it soften up again, and then I'll just use it again. So I never actually clean my brush. I leave the alcohol in it, and I leave the shellac in it, and just re-solventize the shellac. Let me see where I was at. So thanks for that, Craig Meany. Sorry, I am one of the worst people with names. Sorry. Yeah, building a shop. I'm really looking forward to doing that. Shopping for a used lathe now. How important is variable speed? Variable speed is very important when you start getting into bigger things, but if you're talking about pins and spindles and small items, it's not as much of an issue. I don't think I would buy a lathe that doesn't have variable speed, even if it's just as simple as moving a belt in the back. That's fine, but I think I wouldn't buy a lathe without it. But I mean, if you get into a foot-powered lathe, then it's of course variable speed. How fast do you push it? So, thank you for that. That was Chris Lear. Sorry, butchering names again. Do you use a jig to hold the angle? I'm guessing you're saying holding an angle for doing dovetails. This is from Norseman Work. No, I don't. Like a magnetic jig for holding the saw at an angle, no. I actually like all of my tails to be at slightly different angles, and I like the aesthetic of not having things exactly the same. And so I like making every cut slightly different. It makes it a little easier. It makes it a little more fun. And for me, that's what hand tool woodworking is all about. It's about the fun. It's about the flexibility you get with it. And I try and make them look similar by hand, but naturally your hand is going to move, and so I like that kind of variability. So no, I don't use magnetic holders for it. Is woodworking your profession? No, because with the hand tools, no one is going to pay me right now what I actually put into them. And in order to do that, I would not be able to put out all the content as much as I want to. And for me, the goal is putting out this information. I want to put out how much I love hand tools. I want to put out how to work with them. And taking client work would take away from that most of the time. So no, I don't take client work. Romania. Thanks, Marius. Oh, that last question was from Richard Ryder. I'm sorry, doing it again. You should do a hangout in Winnipeg. I might be coming up to, well, I would like to come up to Canada. My parents are currently in Windsor, and I thought about going up there to say hi. I love Canada. I've lived in northern Michigan for a large chunk of my life, and Alaska, and I like being right up close to the border. So I like it there. Someday. Let's see. This is Sweet James. Thanks, Tom. Right. Proving to the wife. Yeah. That's a hobby is always the goal of a hobby is making it something that your wife is okay with you doing. And so, if it ever brought in money, then she might be happy with it. Have you ever watched Paul Sellers? Oh, definitely. I watch every video that comes out. I think I've watched every video he's ever made. I'm behind his paywall as well, and I love his work. He does great stuff. Yeah, all of the big hand tool guys, I follow them fully. James, will you do an old-fashioned pump lathe too, like before electricity? Yes. That's from Richard again. Thank you. I'll be doing a treadle lathe. That's where you're pedaling the lathe, or you're either pedaling like a bike pedal, but I'll probably be doing a treadle where you're pushing a paddle down to run it. But hopefully this summer. Any tips for woodworker thinking of starting my own YouTube channel? Whenever someone asks me about starting a YouTube channel, I ask them, why do you want to start it? If you want to start it for putting up your own videos and saving your own information, that is a fantastic reason for a YouTube channel. If you want to start a YouTube channel for putting out information that you find interesting, that is a great use for a YouTube channel. If you want to start a YouTube channel for making money, No. No. A YouTube channel will eventually make money, usually after 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years. And that is after consistent and long-term and regular posting. And yeah, it's not something that normally pays for itself. But if you're wanting to provide information and build a community and talk with other people, that's a great reason for YouTube. I milled our Christmas tree, spruce. How long should I dry it? That depends on how thick it is, how it's stored, where it's stored. I actually do that with my Christmas tree. I keep a log about 18 inches long out of it. And I will actually keep the entire log and just let it split dry. I like working with that eventually. And normally I'll let it sit under the bench for a year, but it depends on where you're at. I could probably work with it, because mine's about 4 inches in diameter. I could probably work with it in 9 months. But I usually let them sit for a year, and then I will work with last year's and the next Christmas. So it depends on that. I also keep them vertical so that anything can run out of them slowly, so that helps speed up the drying process a little bit. So it depends on what you're looking for there. But yeah, if you get a meter, a wood moisture meter, you can actually test it, and so you can test other wood that's in your shop and how dry it is. But if you're only cutting it like 18 inches long, then it will dry fairly quickly, because most of the water will evaporate from the ends and not from the sides. That was from Chris again. Lear. Sorry, butchering again. Sorry if I'm missing any questions. Go ahead and post them down below. I'm trying to keep up with it, but the scrolling is going by fairly quickly. Hi Kyle. What kind of finishing is appropriate for a pine workbench? Should I use a primer and then boil linseed oil? You can use whatever finish you want. In my opinion, my workbench is pine. It is made out of Douglas fir. This question is from White Ease 9. Love to know what the name's for. Finish is whatever you want it to be. My personal preference is that the bench will eventually get very dirty, will get roughed up, will get saw marks, will get nicks and chisels. That's normal. In the future, I may end up planing it down again and starting again. On mine, I actually used a water-based poly because I had a whole pile of it. Boiled linseed oil isn't a very protective finish. It is something that will, it does provide a bit of finish, but it's not a really, like, it won't keep the dirt and grime out of it like a poly will. But just about anything would work perfectly fine. Boiled linseed oil, paste wax, it all depends on what you want the bench to look for. If you're looking for a bench that looks perfect for the rest of its life, then never use it. The bench will get dirty, the bench will get torn apart, and that's just the way things are. But yeah, whatever you want. Sorry, still fighting the cold. I know you have said this on your channel, but for a newbie like myself, what would be my first hand plane? From Robert Evans. It depends on what you want to do. If you have the money and you want to just go buy a new good working hand plane, then I would probably suggest one of the Veritas hand planes. For the price, very good hand plane. You're going to get something you'll use for the rest of your life, and the price isn't that bad. Once you get into it and you've worked for a while, then you're probably going to want to go buy a Lee Nielsen or one of the high-end planes. If you don't have the money like that, then whatever hand plane you come across first, buy that hand plane and learn about it. Try and restore it, try and fix it up, try and play with it. Don't expect it to work great, and it's probably going to be missing parts because you don't know what the hand plane is. But the best way to learn about the hand plane, what parts it has and how it needs, is just to buy one. And then your next one, you're going to buy another $10, $5 hand plane and cheap and fix it up, but you'll know some things you want to look for on it. But I like buying old, like a number 4 was a great one. Number 5, most of those you're not going to go wrong with, as in like what size they are. I love learning by messing up. And for me, that's the best way to do it. That's the way I learned everything I know about hand tools, is by jumping in and doing it and messing up completely and then learning from my mistakes. That's the fun for me. I like that. But if you're talking about what plane to buy, a number 4, number 5, depends on what you're going to be doing. If you're working with a lot of smaller things, a number 4. If you're working on a dresser or something like that, number 5. The more you get into it, the more you're going to want to buy more planes. And if you're restoring them and fixing them up, you're going to find that you have planes that you like and planes that you like for other things, and they each have their own personalities and things you learn about. So just jump in and have fun. From the Virgin Islands, hey, big screen. What about woodworkers in the Caribbean? I honestly haven't had a whole lot of problem with humidity. Here in the summer, it gets fairly humid, but I am in an air-conditioned house, so it's not as much of an issue. As long as you are regularly using your tools, they will generally stay rust-free. It's when you let them sit for a while. Oil is your best friend. I use a 3-in-1 oil, but as long as you keep oil on things, like once a week or so, I will use my oil on a rag and just wipe down my hand planes and things that I haven't used quite as much. Rust is something that comes about, and then you also get the wood twisting and things like that. But that's part of woodworking, learning how it does that. I would love to go down to the Caribbean sometime. My wife would love that even more, though. Thanks, Nathan Elliott. Sorry, reading down through, trying to answer. Don't do that. Back to that. Hi, Abdullah. Sorry. Hey, Jimmy, how's it going? Hey, James, what's happening to your airplane? For some of those who've been watching the channel for a little while, I still have a channel where I'm designing and building an airplane. That was taking too much of my time away from WoodByWright, and I decided to kind of stop on that for right now. I'm holding on to it, and if I get property and a place to build it, I may jump back into that, but we'll see. I don't know. Because WoodByWright is so much of my hobby and taking so much of my time. I really just like focusing on it. I'm really having fun with it, and so I don't really have another reason to take on another hobby. So yeah, the airplane's kind of sitting on the back burner. I'll probably pick it up sometime in the future. Thanks, Whitey's9. Richard Reader, linseed oil. Must have missed this in your videos. Sorry. All linseed oil is not boiled, right? Boiled linseed oil is special for woodworking. Can you use normal unboiled linseed oil? I actually have several videos on this. I have one that's called, I think it's just called boiled linseed oil, and then I have another one that is all about boiled linseed oil, or more info on boiled linseed oil. More info on BLO, I think was what I named it. But if you type in BLO into the search and WoodByWright, you'll come up with a couple videos on my things. Boiled linseed oil and regular linseed oil are not the same thing. Straight up linseed oil will polymerize over time, but when I'm talking over time, I'm talking months. It's not something that will harden on a surface. Regular linseed oil is great for oiling up wooden body planes, or some people even use that on the soles of their metal hand planes. But for a finish, it's not very good. Boiled linseed oil, traditionally there's a bunch of different traditions on boiled linseed oil, but if you actually boil linseed oil, which do not go boil linseed oil, if it goes above its flash point, it catches on fire and then becomes almost explosive. Very, very dangerous. But if you boil it to just below the boiling point, which is very hard to control, it will polymerize, or it will start to polymerize, and you'll actually be able to separate the fat in it and the water and the oil that will actually polymerize. And so when you actually get to separate that oil from it, then you have an oil that will polymerize in less than 24 hours. And so that's what you want to use for surfacing. What you generally buy in the store is raw linseed oil with a chemical solvent in it. And that chemical solvent will force the boiled linseed oil to polymerize. Well, it will force the raw linseed oil to polymerize. And so it does the exact same thing as boiled linseed oil. And so everyone calls it boiled linseed oil. And they do the exact same thing with the store-bought as with a boiled linseed oil. It's just that the store-bought has chemicals in it, which you probably don't want to get on your hand. And I'm going into a lot more of this than I probably could right now. And so go check out the videos. There's a lot more information on that. And it's one of my favorite topics to talk about though. So see if you have a free cycle group in your area. I've gotten 2 Stanley hand planes. That's a great idea. I love free cycle. This was Reverend Blair. I like the name. Thank you. And Reverend Blair also asked the boiled linseed oil question. Oh, no, that was Richard Ryder. Sorry, both green. Interesting. Sorry. Yes, Free Cycle is a fantastic source for free wood. I've gotten some things from that, pallets and things like that. Also free Craigslist occasionally. It is amazing to me how people think that hand planes are trash, and they just throw them out. I get them at garage sales all the time for nothing. Just as a heads up, if anyone has a question, throw it into the comments. I'm trying to keep up with those. And if I miss your question, go ahead and post it again. Not a problem. Thank you, Kyle. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. I love putting them out. Hey, Bearcat, how's it going? I was just using your saw today. I love that thing. Bearcat Wood, you got to go check out his channel. His channel is like pure inspiration. Yeah. But I have his Dovetail saw, and I was playing with it today because I just finished making a Moxon vise, so I can start doing some of the dovetails for the dresser, which will actually be tomorrow's video. Normally I'd have that come out today, but because I'm doing the Q&A today, I'm gonna have that video come out tomorrow. So, thanks, Chris. Richard again said, I remember you said it was difficult and dangerous to try and make it yourself. Yes, it is. Boiled linseed oil. Boiled linseed oil is very tame unless you mistreat it, and it's very easy to mistreat it. So it's there's no problem with it being in the shop. It's just like when you have rags lying around. And I'm looking forward to it. It almost got warm enough. I was going to do the experiment of putting rags in a box and putting them out in the fire pit and letting the box light on fire. But I'll have to save that for another time. You use linseed oil for your horses. Dutch woodworking. Yeah, there are a ton of uses for linseed oil. It's good stuff all around. And when it's raw, it's completely safe. You can drink it if you want. I like your thoughts on woodworking hand tools. I'm thinking about starting a series for starters with minimal tools. Maybe we could collab sometime, Rob. Yeah, I would love to. Send me ideas. I'd love to see what you have. But yeah, I don't know what it is about hand tools that I just love. Just fun. Collab with Rob would be cool. Yeah, if anyone wants to collab with me, if you have a channel, feel free to send me a suggestion. I'll look at it. Happy New Year's from Norway. Yeah, it's New Year's over there for you. So, woohoo. Looking forward to going to a midnight party here. Sorry, reading down through the comments, seeing if there's any questions. When restoring a plane, how low a grit sandpaper do you recommend using? Cheers from Canada. This is Rodriga Mendez. I think I said that right. I doubt it, though. It depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about flattening the sole, I start with a 30 grit sandpaper. Flattening a sole can take forever if you don't start munching through material. I actually get a belt sander belt, a 30 grit, and I cut the belt and I lay it out flat on the bench and flatten out the sole on that. If I'm just buffing out the surface, I'll use like a 400 grit. On steel, I will go up to 400 grit. I don't really have a reason to do anything more than that because the wood will eventually scratch it up and put deeper scratches than anything the 400 grit would. But when flattening it, I go down really darn low. If I'm just smoothing it out, then 200 or 400 grit. But I'll do a 30 grit, an 80 grit, 100 grit, or 120, and then like a 200, and then 3 or 400 to end it. Sorry, reading down through the comments. Sorry, Bearcat. Brian, I have a whole pile of emails that I've been wanting to respond to and just haven't had a chance. It's been fairly busy over the Christmas season. So, yes, I am going to respond to your email here in a little bit. Just haven't had a chance to it. I hope your 2017 rocks. Yeah, I am seriously looking for this next year. I feel this last year has been me kind of getting the feel for putting up videos and content and how to create content. And this next year, I'm really looking forward to doing a lot more long format videos and really going to depth on methods. And I want to do several builds where I shoot the build in its complete entirety, beginning to end, and have that detail where I'm actually talking about it as I'm doing it and showing some of those little tweaks that make things different. I love that. Happy New Year, James. Thank you. Well, then I'm looking forward to you showering if you're that stinky. So thanks, Richard. Glad you're here. See you next time. Shogun Jimmy, send me information if you want to collab. I'd love to hear your ideas. What are your thoughts on vintage woodworking power tools? By vintage woodworking power tools, are you talking about hand-powered tools like a treadle-powered lathe or table saw or router? Great. I'm looking forward to making a few. Vintage power tools as in like 1940s bandsaw. Cool. I do not have a problem with power tools. And as I've said, I will probably be getting a few power tools to help me create more content, but still maintaining the hand tool in the video. And they'll be for when I just have, 100 boards that I need to plane down. That way I can actually put more content out. I have no problem with power tools. All of my life, up until 2 years ago, I was strictly a power tool woodworker. They work great, and if you enjoy it, fantastic. For me, it's about the fun and joy of hand tools, and so that's why I do them. I find the hand tool woodworking to be a little bit more enjoyable than power tools, so that's why. Vintage power tools are a lot of fun, and I love seeing someone who can take a 1950s bandsaw and tear it down and rebuild it and put in the new parts that are needed and bring it back to life. I think that's really seriously cool. I would love to do that and fix up a few, but I don't have any that need to be done. And I don't have the money to go buy them. I think that's another reason why I like hand tools is they tend to be a little cheaper and easier to get into. Whereas power tools end up costing a little bit more money, and so I don't have the money to jump into that. That was from Evan Dunville. Thank you. What do you mean you have been busy? Well, Brian, I have been busy. And if you want to talk about busy, you should see what Brian's been doing. He's busy. Yeah, this whole Christmas season thing. A lot of channels decided to take the Christmas off and not put out any videos, and I really wanted to maintain my schedule throughout the Christmas season. And so that has been the fun part of trying to work that around all the family things that have been going on. And I'm glad I did. I want to be able to maintain this schedule. I've been putting out the 3 to 4 videos every week since March, and I want to continue that. So more the merrier. Maryland Community Church on Highway 46. Thanks for dropping in. Glad you're here. What's your take on cheap chisels planes? Are there any good enough for a thorough sharpening? Yes, there are. Up until very recently, I have had two chisels. One of them, or two sets of chisels. One of them was from Aldi, the grocery store. And at Father's Day, they put out a set of chisels, and they're like $7 for a set. And I like them. They're great. Their blade isn't going to keep its edge quite as long, but for the average person getting into it, you're not going to notice the difference. I also have a set of the Harbor Freight wooden handled chisels. They are dirt cheap. It's like $10 for 6. And again, the blade isn't going to last quite as long, but they still work. And up until recently, these have been my go-to chisel. This was my standard half-inch chisel. Up until I just got a half-inch everlasting chisel, which I really love. But yes, these still work. They work great. And I think a lot of people poo-poo the cheap chisels because they're not great. And no, they're not great. But for the price, you can't beat them. I mean, $10 for a set of chisels, sharpen them up and work. They're great. And they'll cut wood just like the best of them as soon as you sharpen them. They won't last the edge quite as long, but again, most people aren't going to tell the difference. Where did I miss that? So how did you... Oh, and that last one was from Mr. Go? Go. I'm going to say Go. I'm probably wrong. Sorry. How do you get into the world of hand tool woodworking? I used to have a full power shop. I had a planer, joiner, table saw, the whole 9 yards. If you wanted a tool, I had it. I had a pile of routers. But we moved to a new, smaller house. And over the course of several moves, I ended up selling all of my tools. And I basically gave up woodworking because I didn't have a space to do it. Well, the house we're currently in, I have a space in the basement that's 8 foot by 10 foot. And I saw a video with a guy making a groove with a hand plane, and I thought, that is awesome. I want to make one of those. And I had a little space in the basement, 8 foot by 10 foot. I really didn't need anything bigger for hand tools. And so that is my shop. And then I became a stay-at-home dad. And so with hand tools, it was less dust, it was quieter, and my kids could come in the shop with me, and so I could watch my kids during the day in the shop, which is what I still do. And so for me, hand tools have been an absolute godsend because I can do it with my kids in the shop. It is a whole new level of joy in woodworking for me, and learning how to do it is just phenomenal. I can do it in the small space I have in the basement, and it's just a perfect fit for me. And so that's when I jumped completely into hand tools and learning from then on. And I love it, if you can't tell. And that was from J. Foyer. Fire? Sorry. I'm horrible with names. Reading down through to see if there's any more. You have to look on flea markets, old tools. Yeah, I love flea markets. This is Dutch woodworking. There aren't a lot of flea markets right around me. There are a lot of estate sales, and I get a lot of my tools from estate sales. But flea markets are a great source for them. The one problem I found with flea markets is some people tend to know what the value of them is, and so they tend to price them at what they should be going for rather than, oh, it's junk, just get rid of it. But yeah, flea markets are a great source for them. Sometimes antique shops, you can get good deals there. Sometimes you just can find them there. Power tools or hand tools, Shogun Jimmy said. I like people who start and finish a project. Well, I haven't finished my dresser yet. Sorry. Reading down. My bandsaw is from the 40s. Kyle Merle. That would be cool. I'd love to see it. Yeah, the bandsaw that I used to have, I can't remember the manufacturer. It was from the 50s. Old beast of a cast iron bandsaw. Beautiful, beautiful beast. I loved it. It was one that my dad got from an old factory that was going out of business, and he bought and he gave it to me. Loved that old bandsaw. Have been renewing my workshop area. I am incorporating more hand tools, and your channel is one that inspires me. The frame saw is next to purchase. What thickness blade do you use? I got mine from Blackburn Tools, and this question is from Christopher Thompson. Blackburn Toolworks. He's out of Pennsylvania. Amazing work. He does bow saws, frame saws. He also makes back saws, and does some fantastic work. And I have his 32-inch, I believe it is. And I don't remember what the thickness is on it. I want to say 0.03, I think is the thickness of the blade. But I'm not 100% sure. But whatever one he has for his 32-inch saw, that's the one I use. And I love his kits. They go great. I actually have a video of making that one, which I'm going to actually be making another one here soon, because I busted my frame saw. Yeah. I wasn't very happy, nor was I very kind with it, which I should have been. Oh well. So I'll be making one of those here soon. Last plane I bought was a 50s record, number 4. I did up for my son for $5. Yeah, I love record stuff. Good. And a lot of people think I have record tools. I don't. I just paint mine blue because I like blue. Oh, Mr. Goff. Sorry about that. Goff. I'll have to remember that one. Romania. Thanks, Daniel. My kids fell asleep on me listening. Oh, well, I'm glad I'm good for something. So thank you for that. Hey, TJ, how's it going? If you haven't seen TJ's channel, you gotta go take a look at it. He is a huge supporter of this channel and many other woodworking channels. So thanks, TJ. Question from Mr. Goff. Whoop, where'd it go? Just moved up on me. What's your thoughts on pallet wood? I use a lot of it and it's free. Would otherwise go to waste. Yeah, that is a great source of free wood. I don't use it much because I have a large pile of white oak that I got a while ago. And I'm not as much of a rough woodworking, so the nail holes don't fit as much into my style. But pallet wood is a great source of wood, especially for some of the hardwoods. You can get maple and oak and other things out of it. Yeah, and you go on Craigslist free and you'll find them up there all the time. Some places you have to kind of rush to get them because other people will jump on them, but find them beside the road quite a bit. Yeah, pallets are a fantastic source of wood. I found... What are your feel on PMV11 or A2 or O1 blade? Honestly, for 99% of the woodworkers out there, you are not going to be able to tell a difference between PMV11, A2, or O1. And I know that is like anathema. I shouldn't say that. Everyone has their fan club for their particular steel. But until you really get into woodworking, you're not going to be able to feel a difference with them. I personally like PMV11 a little bit better. I find that it sharpens a little bit quicker and it holds its blade a little longer. But for all of the tools that I make, I usually use A2. I usually use O1 as I like oil quenching it. But really, whatever's in front of me, I'm going to use it. I don't get picky about what steel's in it. I try not to get into the different hand tool arguments, and if you really get into the world of hand tool woodworking, you'll find that there are a lot of dogma and arguments, and people get picky over things, and that's just one I don't want to. So, thanks though. That was Johnny My. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. If you want to see some pallet wood, go look at Dutch Woodworking. He's got some on his channel that are fantastic. Happy New Year. And Happy New Year to everyone else. And if you're already over the date line, then Happy New Year there. Which I think is, what? Eastern Europe is coming up on it? No, it'd be 6 o'clock, so it would be still in Asia. Yeah, I broke my frame saw. I made my frame saw out of poplar. I wanted to see how sturdy it was. It's not a good strong wood, but it is a hardwood and it's easy to work with. And so I decided to make the frame saw out of poplar, and it worked great for a good long while. But the end grain where the tenon went into the handle, the end grain split out, and I knew that was going to be the weak point, and I just it was a poor build on my part. I didn't leave quite enough meat there for poplar. If I made it out of oak or something like that, it would have worked fine. But my next one will probably be out of white oak, which there's a reason for that. That was from Christopher Thompson again. How do you advertise your work outside of YouTube? Where do you get your lumber? This is from Nathan Cole. I don't advertise my work as I don't sell anything. I don't do any commission sales. Yeah, I have a YouTube account. I have Instagram, Facebook page, and those are my main ones. I also do some on Twitter and Periscope occasionally, but most everything I do is on YouTube. And you had a second question. Where do you get your lumber? About a year ago, I got a lucky deal on a guy who had, I think he had 10,000 board feet of air-dried white oak. It had been sitting in a barn for 10, 15 years. And he was selling it for 50 cents a board foot. And I got as much as I could possibly put in my van. I got 400 board feet of it for $200. And I was happy. And I've been kind of working on that over this last year. I probably have enough to get me through next November. And so that's why most of my projects have been on a white oak, and it is my absolute favorite. I love air-dried white oak. It is a fantastic to use. But most of the time, I'm either going to be working with local sawyers. I look on Craigslist quite a bit and find people who are selling it on there. So that's usually where I get my lumber. If I want to go cheap and not cheap, if I want to just get lumber quickly, I do occasionally buy red oak, poplar, maple, or sapele from the big box store, just because it's pre-dimensioned and ready to go, and I don't have to worry about it. Sometimes if I just want to get into lumber, I'll get it there, but that's not the cheap way to go. Any tips? Evan Dunville asked, any tips for putting a straight 90-degree edge on a board with hand tools? I've tried it, but it's very difficult. Well, first of all, I have to ask you, what is your point of perfection? If you're looking for any light coming underneath the square, you're going to be out of luck, because due to there being grain in the wood, you're always going to be seeing some light coming underneath the board. Yeah, especially if you're pointing it straight at a light. But really, it's kind of an experiment thing. If you find that one side is higher than the other side, I move the plane over so that it's hanging over that side of the board, and there tends to be a little bit more pressure on that side. So a few more passes, and we'll grind that side down. If you find that the top of the board is twisting, that's probably because you're not using a long enough plane. If you use a longer plane, then you will be able to shoot over the hump on one side and the hump on the other side of the edge of the board. And so it's kind of something you just have to experiment with and play with. But it's mostly learning how to tip the plane without actually tipping it. Because if you tip the plane, then you start putting facets on the top, and you don't want to do that. It's just about putting more pressure on one side than the other to take one side down quicker than the other. Question from Shogun Jimmy. How do you feel about a CNC machine? I think CNC machines are fantastic. There are so many new things you can do. Honestly, if I were to carve something, I can probably carve something by hand faster than I could do the programming and running of the CNC if I did one thing. But if I were to do two things, the CNC would beat me instantly. If I were to do three, there's not even a contest. And in that, like, if I have one thing that I want to give out to a bunch of people, a CNC is fantastic. And there are so many other applications that CNCs are fantastic for woodworking. I don't knock them at all. They're great. And I love a CNC. Will the new frame saw be a build video? Yes, I'm going to do another build video on the frame saw. And I don't know when I'll be getting to that. Probably be March, but we'll see. Do you know any good traditional wooden plane makers in the U.S.? Yes, there are a pile. Oh, now it's going to kill me. Rose. Someone's going to have to help me in the comments below. Rose. I'm going to have to look that up. R-O-S-E. Rosewood, is it? Red Rose Productions. He makes a bunch of different hand planes. There are several of them out there, and they're not as well known, and they're usually just made to serve. So you're going to find someone who makes individual planes, and so they will cost a bit more, but they're so worth it. Question from Dr. Crazy. You compare that it is easy to build so out of hardwood than softwood. I'm not quite understanding what you're asking, but I'm guessing softwoods, as in pines, you need to have your blades extremely sharp, otherwise they will tear out, they will ding, they will puncture easily. Hardwoods are a little bit more forgiving to that, but you have to put more work into them. I really don't have any one better than the other. Different woods are great for different uses, and learning about all the woods and learning for yourself what do you like, I think is the best way to go. Hardwood, softwood, I use both. Most of what I do is white oak because I have a lot of that on hand. Doc Darkness. Hey Doc, how's it going? Doc is a good friend on the comments of YouTube. What is the best way to learn how to identify wood? The best way to learn about how to identify wood is to use it. The more you use it, the more you learn about it. There is a book called Wood. If you look on Amazon, I think I have that listed on one of my resources on my website. But it goes through every species of wood, what the bark looks like, what the leaf looks like. Whenever I'm walking through a park, I'm always picking up leaves and reminding myself this is oak, this is maple, this is ash. And I try and identify tree leaves and bark and just kind of get an idea for that. But the actual wood, once it's been milled up, the only way to do that is by experience. The more wood you play with, the more wood you experience, the more you can learn what types they are. Sorry if I missed your question, as the comments are going pretty fast. Go ahead and repost it, and I'll try and get to them. I think I have about another 5-6 minutes until my wife gets back. Would you like to have a big sawmill? Yes, I would. And if I buy the house property, I would like to do that. I want to do a video this summer on doing a pit saw video. I think that would be a blast to actually mill up boards by hand, but we will see. That question was from Dutch Woodworking. But I have thought about actually getting a chainsaw mill and milling up some of my own boards. I do have a couple pieces in the basement that I milled up last February. Soon those will be coming into a dining room table. What do you think is best finish for food-safe projects? Travis Reese. I like to use a mineral oil and then beeswax. Anytime you're going to be working with something in food, it's something going to be washed, and so the surface is going to need to be refinished occasionally, and I think beeswax is a great, easy use for it. Mineral oil doesn't solidify, doesn't polymerize like boiled linseed oil, so it's a little bit, it doesn't give like a finish you're used to, but that's what I generally do. I've also used salad bowl finish from General Finishes. I really like their stuff. Good finish. That would look like sound good. Came from Germany. Yeah, English is a crazy language. I study ancient Greek, and I much prefer it over English. It's a much simpler language. I've wanted to learn other languages, but I haven't had an actual reason to. Sorry, jumping off on a tangent. I want to send an image with a different type of joint for a frame saw, and I can't. Yeah, you can't send an image in the comments, but if you want to send me an email, feel free to do that. My email, my email is James Wright, James WRIGHT at woodbywright.com. Chris Lear, I'm sorry I missed it. Check if your local municipality has a tree registry. Yes, that is a great source. A lot of areas will list the trees in the area, and you can learn about that. Very good. I love going through parks and just teaching myself to identify trees. And you can get an app where you can identify trees by their leaves, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Which species do you think gives the most painful splinters? Hey, yeah, they all give splinters. Yeah, I don't know if I could pick any particular one. Teak is painful. I noticed that you wear your headphones a great deal in your shop. What type of music and audiobooks do you listen to? This is from Nathan Toning. I think I said that right. Yes, I have these wireless headphones that I wear all the time, and they're, if you listen very carefully in my you can sometimes hear the podcast that I listen to. I listen to Wood Talk, the woodworking podcast, of course, my own. I listen to a whole pile of them. And then I also listen to audiobooks. I listen to a lot of science fiction. I just like listening to things in the background of what I do. And so, like, I'm currently going back through the Harry Potter books as I'm looking forward to watching the next movie. Valentine's Day is coming up. I don't know where Valentine's Day came out, but Sugar and Jimmy just mentioned it. Well, Valentine's Day is my birthday, so it is a good day. And Dr. Crazy Day, woodbywright@gmail.com no longer is my email, so that one doesn't work anymore. Well, it kind of works. I'm phasing it out. So jameswright@woodbywright.com is my new email. How long till 2017 in your place, Dr. Crazy? 2017 is in 12 hours, because right now it is noon where I'm at. Purple Heart splinters sucked. Yes, they do. Pretty much any really hard wood, the splinters become longer, and they can dig deeper. Tawning. Nathan Tawning. Sorry about that. Tawning. I believe that's right. Thanks. So I think I'm getting close to the bottom. If you have any questions, otherwise I'm probably going to be ending it here soon. And it looks like a few other people are popping out, so I'll wait another minute and see if there's another question, but I think we're just about at the end. I've really been having fun with this, and I'm actually hoping to do one of these about once a month. I'll be doing them once a month, probably towards the end of each month, but we will see as I can schedule them. And yeah, these are fun, and I like the interaction here. And if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to email me or send me a message in the comments. I'd love to help people out and answer any questions that way. So you do a bunch of Celtic carving. Do you enjoy Celtic music? Oh yes, I love Celtic music. That's a lot of what I listen to, and I like anything. For carving work, I like a lot of the medieval styles and things like that. And eventually I want to actually start getting into some medieval styles of woodworking. I thought that would be kind of fun for some videos, but we will see. So I guess that's about it. So Happy New Year's for everyone. And this has been fun. And thank you for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And now I have to figure out how to stop this thing. Where is the stop button? Ah, there it is. So see you next time. Have a wonderful day.